Hello and welcome to another chat of 10,000 Hours and Counting, the podcast that I have created to discuss the spiritual journey. It's certainly something that requires constant work and skill building and testing and assessing and also receiving and integrating. It's a lifelong journey once you begin. There's no end to it. And it's unique to us all. So any tips, anything that I share here in these conversations, hope that they can be of help to you in your life. So today I wanted to talk about life purpose. So this is a big theme, and I have actually coached and mentored people on this idea, life purpose, for many years. But what I notice is that people tend to talk about it or maybe view it in a way of an end game, a level of attainment, or even perhaps sort of deep personal satisfaction and enjoyment after attaining or achieving certain goals. So that is absolutely the antithesis of the kind of life purpose that I would be wanting to help people connect to. Really, we're looking at the search for meaning, for connection, and for the ability to almost refine your essence, to continually taking the steps, to having the life experiences that enable you to become more of who you're meant to be, more of your authentic self. And that's where the success and the enjoyment comes in. It's not about a one journey that takes you to a destination and then that's it. So I think that it's important for us to understand that the first part of life purpose is you're here. You're in your body. You're a soul having a human experience. Tick, this is you're here, and there's a purpose for that. There's a reason for that. So if you can start with that of no matter what's going on for you, there is a reason for you to be here. You have a soul contract to be here at a level your soul agreed to come here and to be part of this experience, both for your benefit and for the benefit of those around you and for Earth herself. So if you're here, there's a reason for you to be here. The other thing about life purpose I want to talk about is the interconnectedness and the signs and synchronicities that can come on our path when we're following things that either interest us or perhaps sometimes excite us and we're passionate about. That's one aspect of purpose, that we're following, doing things that make us feel good, that we enjoy, that we're curious about, and we start to have an affinity for. So this strand of purpose is about being in the flow. It's a bit like that flow state that athletes will get into, where the more that you, or, they say what you focus on grows. So the more you start focusing on, perhaps it is your journey, perhaps, you're loving architecture, or you're loving doing anything any spiritual work with people, whatever it is you're wanting to do. Maybe it is about something you do in the world. You start to find maybe people or synchronicities or teachers or things that light you up, that help you onto that next stage of the path. So it's a little bit like in Harry Potter when he takes the luck potion, the Felicius, the potion, which just suddenly he's inspired to do certain things that are off center, that perhaps don't make logical sense to other people. But being in the flow state, you're able to trust in, I'm going to read that book or take that class, or it's that kind of thing. And that can be an interesting exploratory part of purpose, and it can be quite rewarding. But at the same time, your life purpose is also about those challenges, those situations, relationships, inner dialogue, even external situations, jobs or things that are happening to you, or even just simply old patterns and belief systems that keep coming up into your face and challenging you, and sometimes making you question what the hell you're doing, and maybe even making you feel doubt. So thinking, if this seems to be an obstacle, let's call it an obstacle or a challenge, perhaps it's a sign I should give up, I should step back, I should walk away. And it's really important. And the only way that you will learn this is through application and experience, discernment. It's really important that you don't view the challenges in your life as a sign that something is wrong, that needs correction or needs backpedaling or needs you to just wipe your hands and walk away. That is totally against, what the soul is here to do, and against the search for meaning in your life. So many people will tell you, and you may read books, and I am here to tell you too, that the most challenging things, So either external situations or challenges within myself have been the most rewarding things to work through, because as you sit and you face a challenge, and even if you don't know how to get through it, and even if you're not sure, but in showing up and doing your best whenever you can and just witnessing what's going on, you enable yourself to, it's almost like you pull that challenge, that sort of mud, that thing out of the mud, like it's something that glints and gets your eye and it's all in the mud, and you pull it out and it's all muddy and coated, and you have to spend a bit of time cleaning it and figuring out what's going on, and sometimes even just looking at the nasty parts and cleaning those off. And in the end, you end up with this beautiful jewel, like a priceless jewel, which is the culmination of the sandpaper of your soul. You may have heard me use this phrase before. The challenges that really just sort of rub at you and make you question things and question you. But in the end, they strengthen, they temper your light, your soul, your presence, your personality, and they help you to overcome limitations. And so a challenge that has been integrated into a lesson or as a lesson is even more valuable in certain ways than luck or success or the frequency of the harmony and peace that comes from soul presence. So sometimes that shadow work, that turning lead into gold, the journey of the alchemist, will be even more rewarding to you on a certain level of being able to see what you've come through and feeling deep compassion for yourself, and also joy and a bit of awe and wonder at sort of how amazing it was that you did that. Of course, purpose is not just about the outer world. I mean, quite often it's not just a role either, but it might be a role you're fulfilling as a parent, as a caregiver, something that's not considered to be career, but it brings your life meaning. And again, it may have challenges, but you have an inner drive that just says to you, this is where circumstances have placed me, or also perhaps where I feel I want to be, despite or in spite of any factors that seem to be obstacles, that seem to be telling me this is no good or this is not going to work. Again, it's just a flag. I just want to say to you, discernment. And if you can trust that sometimes you are asked to be in places, sometimes the light is needed in a place that might have darkness and energetically, emotionally, nothing major, but just the light needs to be in a place that needs purification and clearing. You might be asked to be in situations, in certain relationships where things are, a bit challenging, a lot challenging. And you might wonder, am I failing by still being here and having to face? I talked with Angela one day about the same situation, different face, so you have a similar thread of experience coming at you from different people, different personalities, seems to be the same kind of behavior that triggers you in the same way, but it's all about the layered learning that exists within that. So what I want to just say is, don't resist anything that feels uncomfortable at first. It also doesn't mean that we have to relish in and take on burden and say, oh, well, it's challenging, or try and make ourselves a martyr or wear a badge of suffering. That's that tendency of humans to go too far one way or the other. What we're looking for in our purpose, in walking our life path and our journey here on earth, is equilibrium, and also being able to develop what I would call a Zen sort of mind towards any of the more mundane tasks, the heavy lifting, the building of the foundations. I know myself, and I've had some other clients have this experience of being in a worldly situation. In this case, the few cases I'm talking about, these case studies of two clients and myself, it was about an occupation. It was a particular job role in a location. And the guidance for myself and for these different clients over a space of different time period, but having the threads, the guidance was to be there. And it had been led there by some, incredible coincidences, and it felt like quite a light thing. And it was part of the passion. In my case, it was doing more of my spiritual work in the world, changing the way I did work, because it used to be just coaching. So it was opening the other gifts that I had and I used with the coaching, and just totally using that. It was energy healing and card readings, and I had a wonderful opportunity to work, but the location itself and the place and the people, that was very, very challenging. And for those of you who do spiritual work, you will know, I guess it's a bit like being an artist in a way. you need the conditions to be able to do it. Sometimes it feels like, oh, gee, I would like this sort of more special piece and this ability to do this work and bring forth this energy. And what you've got around you is chaos energy and some negativity and people not walking their talk. And so with that situation, myself and these other two clients that came along with the same sort of story, we were in a position of being on our spiritual path, so knowing enough to tune into higher guidance, to source, to ask about what is going on here, because we can always tune in and ask these questions of our higher self and of the spiritual beings who love us unconditionally, the goddesses, the angels, the ascended masters. When you don't know, it's good to tune in and ask. So we had all at different times tuned in to ask because there was a disparity between what seemed like this opportunity and what the heart wanted to do and what the actuality of that was. Seemed like way too much heavy lifting. And the guidance for all of us was building solid foundations for success, keep going and showing up. And it's that beauty and positivity that the divine gives you. And you have to be able to know when that feels right for you, that you can tell that what I started saying before about the mundane or the building or the difficulty doesn't always have to mean that it's something that's wrong. It means you put in your time, you put in your presence, and you show up. And you have the courage of your convictions to say, this feels right to me. I don't know the why or the what. I don't know the answer. There are many things about this that look weird, but it's the discernment that says, I don't just wash my hands and walk away. And so for myself in that situation, it was an incredible experience. In the end, I did have to leave that place and move on. But without that training of both that experience and my inner work, I wouldn't be able to be where I am now and all of the things that have happened since then. So again, that challenge was so important. And at the end of the different days, I was able to say to myself, even though that day felt like something my mind would prefer not to have had, would have liked it to be much better with the label, my soul said to me, that was success. That was a really successful day, and it might have been hard, but it felt like it held meaning and the seeds of meaning and purpose. And there's something about that, being willing to do the hard yakka, but not to stay in a position where you tell yourself, I do the hard yakka all of the time and that's all I do. It's always a balancing act. It's always an equilibrium. But I hope that helps you to start thinking about your purpose. It's not really just a role. There'll be many aspects to your purpose of how you are in the world, who you're with, where you are and what you do. But it's also your journey, and you need to give yourself permission to allow it to unfold, to allow it to surprise you. If you have a sudden 360 change of where you need to be or what you feel you need to be doing, explore that. You don't have to drop everything all at once and run off and say, this is the next thing I'm going to do, and just drop everything. But just be willing to be open and in a space where you continue to make that personal connection between yourself and your higher self and the realms of light of source, where you tune in and you ask for answers, you ask for clarity, you make your prayers of what you'd like to be doing or the essence of where you want to be in service, whatever it means to you. But then you trust yourself to uncurl and unfurl those patterns and make them work for you in a way that you can see that there is, if not constant moving forward there. And when I want to say success, I just mean where you understand that things happen for a reason, that the people who are with you or who are not with you are there for a reason. It's all unfolding as your soul wants it to be. So we need to give compassion to our personality and allow ourselves to go for that ride a bit, because the inexplicable, the beauty of the inexplicable, the unexplained on our path, you can really never plan the most beautiful things, people, synchronicities, opportunities that will come. You could spend all day planning it. And I just have always found that the most incredible things come from that out of left field, because we were in the zone of trust and we allowed that to happen for ourselves. So just taking that burden of perfection of the path and the journey off you now, of letting you realize that it doesn't have to be an ultimate goal. It's about showing up and being present to what is the good, the bad, the ugly, the clean, the smooth, being present to it with an awareness, that you are a soul having a human experience. And so there are multi-dimensional layers to what you're doing. There is the physical that needs to be done here on earth. And then there are the spiritual levels, and that involves the spiritual self-care. So as well as filling your cup by having rest and hydrating and nourishing your body with movement, with good food, sunshine, nature, how do you nourish your spirit when your spirit feels parched? How do you unplug from things that are not serving you? And when is it time to plug into new ways that you don't understand, but you know is your next step? So again, it's that courage.